My name is Lauren Lau, and this is my adventure in Grand Colombia.
For your eyes, step by step, here's your story, let's begin. The water's fine, come on, dive in. The future's here, it's right before your eyes. Step by step, you're on your way. You're welcome to a brighter day. Don't you know it feels good to be alive?
Good morning and welcome back to the channel Grand Colombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live. And let's see, we're going to hit the weather. Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness. There's overcast and mountains. That's what we got, overcast and mountains. And as you can see, I got the studio up and running. Hopefully you can see this. Hopefully you can hear this. See me, feel me. And as you can see, this wonderful studio is a blank canvas in the making. So we'll see how that goes. And while I'm waiting for somebody to tell me they can actually hear me, I'll go through the comments here. We had early contributions. One from Jerry, and of course, Juka, our friend from Finland. There we go. Shows up nice on a white background. And let's see, Mark, good morning. I'm here in Armenia. Yeah, I've been in the middle of a move, so no coffee yet, but we'll get together and have a coffee. Rob, how you doing, Rob? Juka, happy Mother's Day. Now, is that everywhere? I don't know how that goes. It's Mother's Day here. As a matter of fact, hold on. All right, it's a little corny, but it doesn't last long.
Make your bed, comb your hair, always wear clean underwear. That's an order from Drill Sergeant Mom. Drink your milk, clean your plate, try the stuff you think you'll hate. Do it Mom's way and we'll get along. Straighten up, don't slouch, get your sneakers off the couch. Wash when you're finished in the dawn. That's enough TV, don't you take that tone with me. Never mess with your Drill Sergeant Mom. Watch your butt, act your age. Pick that up, I'm not your maid. With your horseplay, you'll put out an eye. Wear a coat, wear a hat. You're not going out like that. Clean your room, 'cause I said so, that's why. Don't say damn, say darn. Were you brought up in a barn? Hey, put these shoes where they belong. Now you sleepy heads, brush your teeth and go to bed. With a kiss from your tough, loving mom. Nighty-night from your Drill Sergeant Mom.
Okay, so I warned you it was a little corny, and I saw a comment here that I'm echoing some, so I was kind of looking around to to see what that might be. Is everyone getting an echo? I wouldn't be surprised. I just got the last plug plugged in. Well, it's getting dark. And just to give you some idea, where is it? That tangled mess of wires. I don't know if you can see in this picture, and some of you are looking on your phone, but there are dozens and dozens and dozens of cables that all have to be run to the right place. And not so sure. I mean, this is our shakedown cruise. All right, what else we got here? Libby. How you doing, Libby? Good morning, still from Cuenca. Yeah, better you than me. I'm so happy to be here and not there. Turtle, how you doing? Oh, and Cash, sound, video, good, awesome. Tommy, all good. That's great. Ron, audio, visual, good. So maybe only the echo is a fluke on the other end for somebody. All right. Maybe hear you good. Well, that's good news. I thought I had everything hooked up right. I mean, I've moved so much now. It's Sam and Peg, good morning. Christopher, good morning from Florida. Yeah, I'm squinting. I didn't make my big letters today. Tomorrow I sleep in Pareda. Well, you know, I suppose that's a step up. You know how I feel about Pareda. Yeah, I'm echoing some. That's the one I had earlier. Gil, good morning from California, Northern California. Let's be specific. NB90, good morning. How you doing? I'll be in your neck of the woods in 3 weeks. Well, I'll be here. Only echoes when you switch screens. Interesting. Interesting. So if I go like this, then it echoes. And then it stops echoing. Well, that might mean that the microphone on the camera was on. I thought I'd shut them all off. But good to know. Gil sounds good to me. Am I repeating here? Let's see. Jeff, good morning. I just returned from Armenia, but back home in Cincinnati. I bet you're missing it. Renee, thank you very much. That would slip by me. I appreciate the contribution. Mike, I had reverb, but intermittently. Okay. Well, it was last minute. I was debating whether just not do it, but I thought everything seems good, so sounds much better. Well, we'll wing it today, and after today, I'll play it back and look at everything again. Robert from Montreal, how you doing? Whoops, come on, get back here. Rob, the only echo is when you showed the view out the window. After that, no echo. Yeah, if that's the case, that would be the microphone. So that'll be an easy fix. There are some experts that have been there for 5 years, used to being in Cuenca, and now they live in another town. They say that someone with $1,000 a month can make it. They're lying to you. But not in Cuenca. Yes. Miss Renee Ola from NATO headquarters in Brussels. Yeah, well, you don't pick your government, I guess. I mean, you're supposed to, but let's see. Yes, they report that there's been more crime in Ecuador and also Colombia after pandemic. Well, that's worldwide. That's not Colombia or Ecuador. It's worldwide. I think you know that. where there's more crime in the U.S. And it's not just the U.S. either. It is worldwide. There's been a spike in crimes. There's not a lot you can do with it. And I had forgotten, I read an article when I think Libby last week mentioned that you can now have a gun. I said, really? And I forgot that I read this article where they just did a decree saying, we can't really protect you. So if you want a gun, get a gun. And how did I forget that? My life has been so hectic. It usually is, but it's been a lot more so, as you can imagine. And so in Ecuador, all bets are off. You can now carry a gun. I'm sure there's rules, and I'm sure that if you actually use it to protect yourself, you probably end up in the prison system. I don't know. Missing Armenia a lot. I can imagine. Just had an estate sale, then finished remodeling the house and sell it, and then move to Armenia, probably 4 or 5 months. It's an exciting time. And I'll tell you, after 5 years, it's still exciting. Sounds bad, only screen switch. I think I skipped to that one before. Maybe you have a second camera with a mic pointing outside when you switch to the outside view. Yeah, the camera has a mic, and I turned it off, but there's several settings, and sometimes one will override the other. Things can be complicated. So, but I think we got to the bottom of it, and I'll be able to cure it. And I'm going to switch to it, and I won't say anything. So, maybe you heard some sounds. Maybe you didn't. All right, what do we got today? Let's see. I did the corny Mother's Day song. I got a report. Yeah, we'll get to the move. I got a lot of questions about the move as it relates to what it may be for them. And so hold your questions, but have them ready and hit me up, because when we start talking about the move, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things that pertain to you that I won't mention unless you ask. But let me mention this report. This was Friday. The volcanic ash advisory says the plume rose up to an estimated 22,000 feet. Flight level 220. And I'm the very last building at the north edge of Armenia. As you're driving out of Armenia, headed towards Pareda on the 4-lane highway, I'm the very last building. And right next to this building, I should probably be looking at you, right next to this building is this gorgeous building. I actually tried to get in to that building, but they kept showing me floor plans that just totally sucked. And there's some good ones, but apparently I couldn't get them. So anyway, this building, it's called Matisse. And one of our fellow travelers moved here, I don't know, a while ago. He lives in that building, and it faces towards me. And yesterday or the day before, he shot me over something. This is off his balcony. My building would be just to the left on this picture. And I don't know if you can make it out, but you'll see this ash plume coming up over one of the mountains. And so that's quite a ways away, but it was a good catch on his part. It's been so overcast lately, which is not a bad thing here. It cuts down on the UV rays. It's been so overcast that, it's like every time I look, I can't see anything but clouds. And then he sent me this thing because he wasn't sure if that was a volcano. So he sent me this, he must spend a little time on this. He took a picture, a screenshot of the map. He put down a compass with direction along with the photo, and he marked the X of where his building is, and it points directly at the volcano. And it's a pretty good detective work. There's more than one deep diver in the world. And then we've got El Nino, and it's already started being warmer every day than it has been in a very long time. El Nino phenomenon, an increase in temperatures is forecast for the next 2 years. So that doesn't mean it's going to be drastically off, but where we rarely would get an 82 degree, for example, those are going to become more common. Right now, I got some breeze. You can see it's overcast. It's high 70s, around 78. But sunscreen, plan your day. Best thing to do when we're in a warm situation. And it's not like 80 degrees is end all. I mean, it's not that big a deal unless you're actually out in the sun. So what you want to do is become a morning person if you can. I get up 4, 5, 6 in the morning at the latest. And if I have things to do, I tend to do it in the morning. And then maybe I'll have lunch around 1 o'clock. So I do all my running in the morning, early afternoon. And then after that, I'll head back home so that I'm not out from the time around 1 to say 3. And that's, even if it's not that warm, that's when the UV rays it's most brutal, because you remember we're on the equator, and that can be an issue. And if you have shade, you don't notice it. But if you're out of the shade and if you're out walking and there's no shade around, which in Armenia, there's usually shade most everywhere you're going to walk, but occasionally you get these dry spells. As a matter of fact, in Manizales, I took somebody there who became a friend of mine and was showing him around. He wanted to walk, and it was, oh my God, I think it was around 1 o'clock. And so we're walking along 23 and everything was kind of nice, but then there was a period of less than 10 minutes where we walked and it just wasn't shade until the whole next batch of shade. And he wasn't wearing a hat. I don't wear hats unless I have a particular reason to. I don't like wearing hats, believe it or not. I do like this hat, I just don't wear it. He wasn't wearing a hat, and he was kind of balding on the top of his head. And in less than 10 minutes, he ended up with a fierce sunburn on the top of his head because the UV was so drastic. So, you definitely want to be careful of that. Saw something here. Sebastian from Chicago. Okay. Dream Elements. Mark, thank you. You got a note here which says, thank you for looking forward to meeting more Coffee Time people. Know that I am here in Armenia. Okay. The dollar is steady, 4,500. Yeah, it's always going to go up and down, and I have people, constantly watching it. Like I swear on a daily basis, and it'll go up a little, and they're celebrating, and if it starts going down, they're panicking. And it's just relax, because here's the thing. There ain't a damn thing you can do about it, no matter which way it goes. I mean, it's going to be what it is. So there's no point in celebrating. There's no point in panicking. Just accept it as it comes. I don't foresee anything drastic, and I've said that all along. We're living on borrowed time. By that I mean it's been running in our favor for quite some time now. So enjoy it while it's here. I wish I knew it was permanent. There were a couple places I would have gotten into, but I really like this place, so I don't want it to sound like, oh, you know, I don't feel like I'm playing second fiddle here. This is a heck of a nice place, and it ended up, I think I got a pretty damn good price on it. But now we're going to talk about the Move. Dun, 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 the Move. All right, I got some slides. Honestly, I don't even remember what they are. Got one here that says the building. So maybe it's a picture of the building. Sorry, a little discombobulated. But we'll talk about the Move here in a bit. Let's see what this is. Oh, yeah. It's the actual building. The guy who took the picture of the volcano also sent me this shot where they're washing windows, because in the video, I think it was because in the video clip, I'm on the right side of that. This is the side that we're seeing. The front is where I am. The front and the other side. I actually covered two sides of the building. And in a video, I mentioned there was a rope. I said, what the heck is that thing for? A big, thick rope with looked like nautical tie-downs. And I think he sent me that to say, but they've been washing windows. Well, it makes sense, I guess. Not a job I'd want. And I also got some questions. I think I've answered this online, but I saw a question, actually two, asking about what kind of speeds did I get with the Move, and was I able to keep the fiber optic? So this is the speed test that I took. Now, I bought 250, and then I found out that because I'm a cell phone user and I'm in some preferred category, I get an extra 100 for free. Not for a month or 2 months or whatever, for the whole period. So 350 is what I contracted for, with 100 of that being free. But this is my actual speed. So that's pretty cool. They don't seem to bother throttling it. Although it could be higher. Where I am here, I could get up to 450. But the thing is, you're not going to see the difference. It would have to be some very particular things. And I'm a pretty heavy user, especially for the upload. Even just streaming is, takes a certain level. And when you're up around 200, you don't really need more than that. I turned on my various Alexas. I turned on the TVs with streaming. I turned on my laptop, my backup desktop, and all of them running things. And it wasn't a problem. Handled everything. Oh, I also put a YouTube thing on my phone. So I had all this stuff going at once to see if it would bog down, and it doesn't. Okay, and I got some quick pics of the Move itself. And that goes to exactly why I hate moving here. Because the Move itself The guy who moves my stuff, I've used him 4 times now. He's got that truck that you saw in the beginning of the slide. He hires a laborer, and he does a great job. I've never found as much as a smudge on anything that I own. Everything, he just does a really good job. He will even come in and box things up. So anyway, he moved it, I'd say about a third of the way across town, brought it up to the 13th floor, which meant he had to keep waiting for the elevator, and brought it in. He took the beds apart, then came in here, set them back up. The studio table is actually quite big. It's that white one that you saw. You have to take that apart. It comes apart in like 5 different pieces, and he puts that back together. In other words, it's a hell of a lot of work. And I asked him how much. I figured inflation, you know, it's like, I didn't know, 200,000 pesos. 200,000 pesos. Last time he moved me, it was 140. So the move itself is rather uncomplicated. It's easy enough to get somebody to come and pack your things in boxes. I packed all my gear, all the cables. It was half of the boxes. I packed that up, and then I paid somebody, not very much, I'm ashamed to say, but I paid them what they asked for, to pack up the kitchen. So they came in, and it was all these boxes and like that. It moved in one day. And, you know, so that part of making, why do I hate it if it's that easy? Well, it's not that easy, because your entire life gets turned upside down. And the thing is, I don't need a distraction in my life, because I really like the way my life is. And I don't want to be pulled away from it for 2, 3, 4, 5 days. You know, especially when I got here, was the worst part. Okay, where is that? Where is that? Where is that? I don't have that. Where is that? I mean, you do that for a day and a half as you're trying to figure out where to put everything. It's, I hate it. I hate it. It's maddening. It's frustrating. So the move is easy, but I'm still complaining, because that disruption is terrible. And then I felt the stress of getting, you know, this set up for today. And I don't know how to handle stress anymore. It's funny, because my whole life was nothing but dealing with stress. I was always the boss and business owner and all kinds of endless stress. Am I going to make payroll kind of stress? And here I get this little bitty stress where if I didn't get it set up, it could have waited till next week. I already cautioned you guys it might be. But I put it on myself, and I'm not even comfortable with that level of non-important stress anymore. So I don't know, I've changed dramatically. Renee has a question. Stratus 4 or 5. I think it may be 6. Definitely it's 5. It may be 6. I'm not sure. I didn't ask. It doesn't really have that much of an impact, because the cost, it's like a few dollars difference, you know. So it's, you know, you live where you want to live, and you don't trip over the small change to and avoid having your best life. So I don't know. When I find out, I'll let you know. I would guess it's 5, but it could very well be 6. That's very good internet speeds. I have Spectrum, and their best speed in my area is 90 down and 10 up. Yeah, that means it's not fiber optic. If it's fiber optic, it's the same speed both ways. And that's when you can get the high speed. You know, so what you have is something other than fiber optic. Yeah, I was surprised. They got Armenia wired up with fiber optic in record time. I mean, they got to the entire city in less than 2 years. So I think it's pretty damn good. I mean, maybe not, but seemed to me. All right. Do we have any questions about the move in particular? Anything that might pertain to you, anything that you're wondering about that it might have an impact on your life? I think I talked last week about the agent situation. Yeah, quit saying my conclusion on the agent situation, next time I won't probably. Although it did open up places that would not have been accessible to me. So I had all the ones, from owner direct that I would have, plus some that I would not have had access to. So that part was nice. But the frustration of dealing with so many agents that don't return your calls, that really don't give a crap, I almost gave up several times, and I don't need to deal with this stuff. I'll just go find one, But I really wanted to go through it. So there's that. Then there's very little room for negotiation, where with an owner it's very flexible. Now the downside is they won't make a change to their contract, and I've changed every contract since I've started living here. The upside is their contract didn't have any provisions in it, even though the damn thing was like 10 pages long instead of a page and a half. But it didn't have any provisions in it that I felt that I needed to change. It didn't have, you got to give 2 months notice before, and some of these crazy things that I've run into. I was prepared to just say to hell with it if I got the copy of the contract and it had things I couldn't change and I didn't want to deal with them. I would have just said, well, I changed my mind, I'm not going to take the place. But I didn't have to do that, and so I'm happy, actually. This is a very nice place. It's, as I mentioned in the last week or the week before, it's got one of the smallest pools I've ever seen, but it's got a pretty good sized jacuzzi. It's got a little gym room. It's got 6 or 7 different pieces of equipment in there, which is fine because not that many people use it, and it's not like it's a huge building. It's got I never mentioned this, but on the first floor next to the lobby, it's got a little church. You go in there and it's got an altar and it's got church benches and, excuse me, it's interesting. I guess, that was a thing at one time. Not so much anymore, but it's a very comfortable place. Got a couple elevators. They run pretty quick. I got a couple parking spaces for cars, plus 2 for motorcycles. Plus there's guest parking. So, if I were rich and wanted to have a couple motorcycles and a couple cars, it wouldn't be a problem here. And then you can also, if you need more than that, you can also you can rent parking locations that there's a lot of people who don't have cars, and so you can rent those from them. They get a few extra bucks, and then you've got extra parking. Let's see. How much is rent? If you said, I missed it. I did. It was listed at $1,850,000, and I got it for $1,680,000. It was something that, they did move a little bit on. The other ones that I talked to wouldn't move at all. In this particular place, they went to the owner, which that actually was what surprised me. remembering it now. When you talk to agents generally, they'll determine, and they don't necessarily go to the owner. I think because they don't want the owner to say yes, and then they lose a bit of money. Speculation there. But in my case, they said, we'll get back to you, and they got back to me, and the owner had agreed. So there was that. So it's $360 a month, I think, which is not that much more than I've been paying. It's just a few dollars, maybe a $15, $20 bill, if that. So, you know, I was comfortable with the price, but I also felt that was at the high end. That's why I really worked on negotiating, because even though I could swing it, here's the thing: if the dollar, you know, drops, goes through the toilet, I don't want to put myself up against the wall. So I try to keep things within a certain range so that, you know, if it drops down to, you know, 3,500, I'm not going to panic. I won't like it. Let's see, George, thank you very much. Thank you for the contribution. EPS says, or Medio. Huh? Not sure what you're saying. Or EPS, which is health, says 4.5. I'm confused. Hugo, hi Lauren. How did you like living in the house that was close to the mall in Laurales? Well, it's not in Laurales. Do you recommend it? Why did you move? Thanks. It wasn't near Puerto Condillo. It was near what was Colima, and now it's called Plaza Flores Mall. Laurales is near Puerto del Condillo. Yeah, I lived right next door to it. The location was great, and it's why I even took it, but I never liked the house, and I turned the house down several times before I decided to go ahead and take it. And I've explained that in the past, so I won't go over that. I didn't like the house, not because of it was a house, not because of where it was located, although it surprises the hell out of me that I actually have discovered that I love living in high rises. And I never thought, I'm a country boy, I never thought I would say that. But it's true. There's just so many advantages to it. But the house itself had so many problems. It was so poorly maintained. I mean, the showers were bad. I had to go get some new shower fixtures. The guy who had it, he tried. I mean, he kept sending repairmen over. I swear, once or twice a month, the entire time I was there, they had to replace a bathroom door. They had to replace a bathroom cabinet. There were faucets that had to be repaired because the washers were leaking. It was just always something. The hot water tank had a hose just burst one day. But it wasn't just that. It was so many things that the place was just a mess. And I didn't like living there. I didn't like being on the ground floor and staring out at trees. I liked seeing over the trees. I mean I like that. So, that's the thing. Plus, it was a lot of room for just me, and even when, you know, I was contemplating having people that live there, still it was a lot of space. Here, I'm actually kind of shrunk down because it's similar in size. Some things are actually bigger. The bedrooms are a little bit bigger. The living room is definitely bigger. The dining area is about the same. Kitchen's smaller. But the only real difference is that had a studio area where this one doesn't. So I've done here what I did before I was at the house. I used one of the 3 bedrooms as a studio. And this one is so much better than the last one at today's they sent it 360, the 360 building. That it was just too small, and I was constantly running into some problems because of it. You know, kind of technical, but you know, you need a little bit of space. You got to make sure that things aren't overheating. You've got to make sure that the window's in such a place where if it starts raining, it's not near your equipment. You know, you just have a lot of things to watch out for. Let's see. Mike, how you doing, Mike? Haven't you seen enough of me? Seen Mike a few times recently. The other Mike, in the garage, can you wash your car in a dedicated area? Remember your car before dusty in that one place. Depending on what you do and how you're getting your car, a lot of times car washes are included. I didn't ask if they have a wash bay, so I can't tell you that they do or they don't. I'm guessing they do, and I have reasons to think that they do, but I honestly am not sure. I'll try to remember and look just to let you know. It's not unusual to be able to do that, to wash your car on grounds. As a matter of fact, it's relatively common, but it's also dirt cheap to get a car wash for, like equivalent of like $1. You can get somebody to wash your car. So there's that, and so rather than have to buy a bucket and a sponge and soap and you go through that, you can just pay somebody $1 and deal with it. Stratus on EPS bill says for Madio. I can be pretty sure it's not Stratus 4, but I'll find out. Your EPS, I'm confused. For this particular building? Is that what you're saying? Larry, is your Nobia's family moving to your new place? I don't want to talk about it this time around. Let's just say I'm very difficult to live in and around, and I just can't take a whole lot of stress. Let's say stress. So having one person would be an advantage to me for all the things I've spelled out before, but having a couple, it's a bridge too far. So his dudeness abides. Did you feel the tremor around 1 this morning? No, and I was awake. It rattled windows in my rental house. I feel safer in a house than a high rise. I don't, now that I know about the construction and the research that I've done, and when they have earthquakes, it's the high rises that survive. When they had the big one in '99, there wasn't a single high rise that had any kind of damage, any kind of structural damage. A few superficial things, but all the high rises were completely intact. They build them well. Even little things like what are in the U.S. on drywall construction, the studs are what, 18 inches on center, I believe. Here it's it's in millimeters, but it's closer to like 12 inches on center. Their standards are building standards are pretty good here. My wife is a light sleeper. She told me about the tremor around 1. I slept right through it. Yeah, and here I didn't even notice it. Took that off my current bill. Are you in this building, Ben? Is that what you're saying? That would be interesting. In the Portal del Bocota building. Let me know. I'm curious to know that somebody would be right in the building that I just moved into. I'm next door. You're in Matisse. Oh, yeah. I just realized you have aliases. Okay. Yeah. Well, that can't be a 4. I mean, I suppose it could be. I don't know how. That's one of the nicest buildings in the city. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I will certainly mention it when I get my first utility bill, which will be in the next week or two. I'll take a look at it and we'll see where it stands. Okay. Do we have any other questions? I moved my camera and I'm used to looking here at the camera, but the camera's not there. The camera is now here. I think I'm going to move it back. It seems to be more comfortable where I had it placed last time. All right. Last call for questions. Anything you want to know about moving or anything in general? I've got the only thing I have left to unpack are some of my clothes, which like I never wear. And I've got a bunch of stuff here that I've got to get in the cabinets, various cables and microphones. And actually, I should weed through it because I mean, why am I hanging on to a couple microphones that don't even work anymore? You know, it's like, so I don't know. The owner could have influenced, but doubt he would for the dollars involved. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I would guess that it would either be 6 or possibly 5. But we will see. I've never even noticed on my EPS bill that it even had anything to do with Stratus. Ron, thanks for everything you do for us. You may mean going through the agent. Yeah, it was probably a silly thing, but I advise you guys about agents. I warn you, I caution you about agents based on personal friends that I have here and getting other people's experience. But it's always bothered me that I never took the time to firsthand go through the entire process. I've talked to agents in the past, and I found that, you know, the things that I told you were accurate. But what I didn't know, and if I hadn't gone through this, I wouldn't know, is that all agents aren't the same, and there are some that actually will work with you without a cosigner, and will work with you without, you know, deposits and, you know, things like dealing with owners directly, things that I caution you about. But what really sucks is having to go through so many to find those nuggets that will actually work with you. So, how do you like location versus last place driving, etc.? Well, I loved the location over there, and I hated to leave, but there was just nothing around there. There was a 3-bedroom open in 360, but if you remember, when I had my place in 360, it was there's 200 condos in those buildings. Well, there are 2 buildings connected in a V shape. I had one of 5 that were of the largest size. All the rest of the 3 bedrooms were smaller. they didn't have dining rooms, for example. I had a separate dining room. The living room was a lot bigger. You know, it was noticeably different. So moving into that small one, there's no way. I mean, my stuff wouldn't even fit. It felt more like a small 2-bedroom. So I wouldn't want to live there. Now, if you're not doing this kind of stuff, I mean, I eat up half of my space. As I said, when I pack my boxes, half of the boxes are related to this channel. So, you know, so if I wasn't doing this, it would be a different story. But I am doing this, so that matters. I love that area. It's still one of my favorite areas. This was never on my radar to live. And as a matter of fact, I had stayed in those red... Woo, you probably heard that. That was something particularly noisy going by. I got the window wide open, like wide open. It's a red, orange, and white building that does a lot of Airbnbs. And the building, they're just crap. They're just horrible. And there used to be nothing around up here. Well, that's changed, you know, because of that's the way it was 4 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever. I stopped paying attention to up here, and time marches on. Well, now that little thing that I used to laugh at, they call a mall, has become, well, it's still not a mall, but it's got probably 15, 20 different restaurants in there. Some high end, some quick places. There's a steak restaurant. There's several bars, like actual long cowboy western bars that you belly up to the bar. It's got a barber shop, and across the hall aisle building room is a beauty shop. It's got a gymnasium, like a big Smart Fit kind of a big place. And I'll be doing a video on this. There's a supermarket there, and the size is small, but there's some fascinating things on the shelf. There's some things I've never seen in Colombia before. So I won't go into that either, but it's like I'm gonna go there and do a little shopping just to kind of go shelf by shelf, because there was some hidden gems. And so there's that. So it's what they call a mall is like this big food court. And then, so you got that, and then you've got the supermarket, and then you've got this place that's crazy good it's a bakery and breakfast. And it's crazy good. Best orange juice I've had in years. They use the Naranja Dulce, the sweet oranges. And they have this machine that they just keep dropping them in, and it pumps out the juice. And it was it's so good. So and those things are all like half a block. I mean, it's very close. Because I'm at the edge of the city, the 4-lane road, there's a loop return right in front of my building. And that means all the buses, taxis that drop people off, they all have to come up to this loop to return. So you have every 5 or 10 minutes, you've got a bus that's going into Armenia. And the thing is, if you're here, it doesn't really even matter what bus it is, because for a certain period of time, they're all going to go to where you want to go unless you want to go further. So, you know, so there's that. There's, like I say, there's taxis on a regular basis. Of course, you can call for taxis. So there's some real upsides to things here, and I may end up recommending it. I don't know yet. It's not like there's a lot of places to live. You got Matisse, you got this, and that's almost it. But there are some new buildings going up. So there's that. They finally renewed my residence permit after refusing me 2 times. Will apply for citizenship the next time. Yeah, the permanent residency, I got to look more into this, but with the changes, it's almost like, yeah, you get 2 more years, but you're paying more money, and by the time you could go the 3 years or the 5 years, because it's now 5 years, it's almost like it's a wash, dollar for dollar. It's like I'm not seeing the advantage. So once you do citizenship, everything's done, and you can have dual citizenship. So where in the past having permanent residency would have been, that's plenty for me. Well, now since it's got to be renewed, just like the pensioner visa, there's definitely an advantage now to go for citizenship because of the way they changed the regulations. Excuse me. John, Gran Colombia, what is your opinion on Buenos Aires, Argentina? I have no opinion because I've never been there. I had in Ecuador a couple that had, we'll say, escaped. They were economic refugees from Argentina back when things crashed, and he lost his business, and he actually moved to Ecuador, and he was putting together a business there and struggling because Ecuador wasn't what he thought it would be either. He filled me in on, and he was from there. He was Argentinian, and he told me a lot about daily life there, what to look for. It's one of those things. If you like big cities, you're probably going to like it. It's a modern city. It's kind of European in flavor. But if you don't like big cities, then of course you're not going to like it. But the government is notorious for being a bit unstable, which causes the financial markets there to be kind of fluctuating and unstable. And there's a whole underground economy. Like you exchange your money. If you do it officially, you get the exchange rate. And if you go underground, you can get double or more, for your money. A bit of craziness. It doesn't have an appeal for me for a lot of those reasons. Plus, you're getting down to where, you're back into the 4 seasons, which I always loved. But, I really like the predictability of, I get a range of temperatures here. It's like 62 at night and maybe 80s. Well, the average is what, 76 or 70 something high, 76 or 78. I think it's 78 is the average high, and 62 is the average low. So I got a very narrow range, and I kind of like that. It's pretty much year round, and that's why people here, because they never experience those big fluctuations in temperature. If it goes a couple degrees, they're putting a coat on, a winter coat, and then it warms a degree or two, and they're pulling it off, and they're wearing midriff shirts, t-shirts all of a sudden. They're very sensitive to the smallest change. Where, to me, I'm used to 10 below in the winter and 105 in the summer, in the big swings in between. I don't even notice those few degree changes, but here they do. So you get to Argentina, you're getting more to where you got definite cold weather, definite hot weather. And I don't know, I lived much of my life in that. I'm really liking this. I know it's sad. I know it's pathetic. I've traveled so many places, 20-some countries, and I've lived in Japan for 3 years and Ecuador for 3 years, and I've been here for 5 years, and I don't want to move from here anymore. I don't, I really love it where I am. I will admit maybe I should say confess, that this time around I was seriously contemplating moving back to Manizales for a year. I love the city. I don't love living there, but a year goes pretty fast. And so I was contemplating, well, if I don't run into a place that I really like, maybe I'll go there, because there's a lot more places available there. Because I was there just recently and I was kind of checking some of those things out. And I said, well, maybe I'll do that. There's a few people I still know there. Maybe I'll give that a shot. But I was really on the fence, and then this place came along and everything kind of fell into place. So, you know, here I am. And it's, and I'm happy. I'm very happy it's like that. All right. Well, I think our time is up. Hope I didn't bore you too much. I know I can get rambling on some of these things. I will be here next week. I got a few things to tell you, but it's just not quite time yet. So I don't want to pull the trigger too early. But life is good. That looks a little blurry to me. Maybe the lens is dirty. Or maybe it's not focusing. All I did was set it up. I really should go through it. But I will see you next week. I want to thank you. The contributions today, I definitely appreciate that. And yeah, bad echo. We've determined the microphone's on. I'll get that turned off in every place it needs to be. So, see you next week.
Oh.